So 2024 is officially over. It's been a few days, but I'm going to talk about the movies that I'm looking forward to. So, kind of like last year, I'm going to do two different videos about my most anticipated movies of the upcoming year, including franchises, sequels, reboots, remakes, whatever, which will be this video, and then following up with the originals, the ones that aren't based on any IP. And I know a lot of people like to knock down sequels and such, but sequels tend to make studios money and we keep getting them. And I'm not saying that all sequels are bad per se. There are definitely some sequels that I enjoy or franchises in general. Last year I put Dune and Mad Max Fury, not Mad Max Fury Road, Furiosa and Alien and some of my best of the year lists. So it's not that I'm against remakes or reboots or franchise movies in general. I do get excited for them, and there are a couple, and there are a lot here. Surprisingly, I was looking at my list again, and there's surprisingly a lot that I'm looking forward to. So this list is going to include any sequel, any sort of reboot in some way, any sort of remake, as well as any sort of franchise movie in general. There are pretty much every MCU movie is going to be mentioned in this video at some point. So let's get into my most anticipated sequels, reboots, remakes, franchises, so on and so forth, with some honorable mentions, including, surprisingly, Megan 2.0. This movie comes out in June. I had a lot of fun with the first Megan movie, and pretty much everyone is coming back for the next movie. It's getting a summer release, so hopefully it's as campy as the first movie. Jurassic World Rebirth. I am not a big fan of the Jurassic Park series in general. I love the first movie. Jurassic World is okay, but everything else has just been hit or miss. But with a new cast including Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, and Jonathan Bailey, as well as director Gareth Edwards, who's just coming off The Creator, I'm intrigued to see what this franchise will do next. Happy Gilmore 2, surprisingly on my most anticipated list because it's a guilty pleasure. Happy Gilmore is a guilty pleasure to me. It is one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies. I had such a good time with it, and they're finally making a sequel to it, and it looks like everyone's coming back for this movie. Saw 11. I'm surprised by this movie. I'm surprised that Saw 10 actually got a lot out of me, but Saw 11, I'm kind of curious what they'll do next with this movie. The Black Phone 2. The first Black Phone seemed a little open and shut, so what are they going to do with this movie? I don't know. Will it be a prequel in some way? We'll see. The Conjuring Last Rites, apparently the last Conjuring movie, at least with Ed and Lorraine Warren. We'll see about that, but even though it's directed by Michael Chavez, who directed all these other last few Conjuring movies, I'm not quite as excited yet, but hopefully it's a nice send-off to Ed and Lorraine Warren. Next up, Lilo and Stitch. Surprisingly, a Disney live-action remake that is on my list. Mainly because right now they're going with that direction that they went for the first Lilo and Stitch, where they threw Stitch into like all these animated movies. Now they're kind of doing the same thing, like throwing Stitch into the advertisements with basically kind of like throwing him into like different movies and such. It's like, okay, you're kind of learning a bit. We'll see. Chris Sanders is returning as the voice of Stitch. Meanwhile, I believe the director of Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is directing the live action movie, so we'll see if it's actually as good as the original. I'm gonna cast some doubt on it because it's a Disney live action remake. How to Train Your Dragon. This one is kind of fascinating to me. On one hand, I'm not looking forward to it because it looks like a shot for shot remake. On the other hand, at least Dean Dubois is directing this movie, who previously was involved with the other three How to Train Your Dragon movies, so hopefully there's something here. We'll see if this kicks off a trend of other studios remaking their animated movies and not just Disney. Next up is John Wick's Ballerina. The spin-off that was kind of introduced in John Wick 3 is finally getting a spin-off. Ana de Armas is starring in the lead role. Hopefully this movie will carry on the legacy of John Wick. Next up is Avatar Fire and Ash. Say what you will about the Avatar series, and I know I have, but without a doubt, these movies make a crap ton of money. And either way, I'm going to see this movie on the biggest screen possible in 3D. I'm impressed by the visuals of this movie. The story's not so much, but that's another debate. Wicked for Good. Now, I did enjoy the first Wicked quite a bit, and I'm curious to see what this new movie is going to be like. The only downside is I think a lot of people, from what I hear, the second part isn't as good as the first part, so that's kind of why it's in an honorable mention list. But it's still the same people involved in the first movie, so why not? Captain America Brave New World. This movie has a lot of production issues. They keep going back for reshoots and such, and the movie's only coming out in a few weeks, and I'm kind of nervous about it. But I do like Anthony Mackie. I'm intrigued to see how Harrison Ford is as Ross, and I'm kind of curious to see like what this whole movie's really about. And the last honorable mention, Zootopia 2. Now, normally this movie would have been higher up on my list because I am a big fan of the first Zootopia movie, but the Disney sequels as of late have not been particularly good. I didn't care for Moana 2, didn't care for Frozen 2, didn't care for Wreck-It Ralph 2. Even I had some reservations about Inside Out 2, but that's Pixar, but that's another story. But I'm just a little nervous. I'm going to go in this movie very cautious because I know the Disney sequels aren't as good as the original, and I absolutely love the first Zootopia movie quite a bit. So that makes me extremely nervous. It's still an honorable mention because I do want to see the world and I do want to see those characters again. But let's get into my actual top 10 remakes, sequels, reboots, whatever. Basically anything that is existed before. So at number 10, surprisingly, is Freakier Friday. I'm kind of impressed that this movie actually exists. And I'm actually really happy that not just Jamie Lee Curtis is back, but Lindsay Lohan is back. And also pretty much everyone else in the cast is back. I'm really impressed by that. I'm excited to see what happens in this movie, even though it looks like they're just going to switch bodies again. I don't care. Freaky Friday was one of those movies from my childhood that I really enjoyed, and I'm curious to see what they'll do with this new one. At number 9, Wolfman. This comes out in a couple weeks, but I'm still incredibly excited for it. Leigh Whannell previously directed The Invisible Man, which I thought was a great surprise. It was really creepy. It got under my skin, and I'm curious to see what he will do with this next Universal monster. I think that's finally how they got these Universal monsters to work. They put Leigh Whannell in charge of it. That's how it's working for me. So I'm curious to see how that works. Julia Garner and Christopher Abbott star in this movie. I'm curious to see what this movie is like. At number 8, Thunderbolts. This movie is basically the Suicide Squad to the MCU, with Florence Pugh, David Harbour, Sebastian Stan, and a whole bunch of other villains returning, including the villain from Black Widow, the villain from Ant-Man and the Wasp, other characters, including Bob. Okay. It looks like it could be fun. Looks like it could be over the top. It looks like it could be close to an R rating, kind of like with Deadpool and Wolverine. But I'll definitely see it. I'm a little nervous, but I'll give it a chance at least. At number 7, Wake Up Dead Man. Now this movie does not have an official 2025 release date. I don't know yet. I'm guessing it's going to come out around November. But the first Knives Out movie I thought was pretty good. Glass Onion I thought was a lot better. This movie, I'm really curious to see what this mystery is really about. It has a very interesting cast. Not just Daniel Craig is coming back, but you also have Josh Brolin, Glenn Close, Andrew Scott, Kerry Washington, Mila Kunis, Kaylee Spaney, Thomas Hayden Church. A whole bunch of people do appear in this movie. I'm curious to see what this movie's about, and I honestly wish Netflix would put this movie in a theater for more than just 1 week. At number 6, Predator Badlands. Now, I really enjoyed Prey, and I was really excited to hear that not just Dan Trachtenberg was coming back to direct another Predator movie, but that it was actually going to be released in theaters and not just sent straight to Hulu. Yeah, I'm definitely really excited to see what he does with this new movie. At number 5, The Running Man. 2 words, Edgar Wright. Anytime Edgar Wright makes a movie, I'm going to be incredibly excited. Now, I didn't see the first Running Man, so I have no knowledge about it. I know it stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it also features Richard Dawson of all people, which that's surprising in retrospect. How are they going to make that dystopian future translate to modern day audiences? That's going to be very interesting. And again, Edgar Wright is just so unique in my opinion that I'm going to be excited for this movie no matter what. At number 4, The Fantastic Four, First Steps. I put it at number 4 just because of the joke and such. But I'm really excited to see what this movie's like. They've been building this movie up for a while. The cast sounds really good with Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Evan Bachrach, Joseph Quinn. Really excited to see what this movie's like. Hopefully we get a good Fantastic Four movie instead of the last few Fantastic Four movies. At number 3, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Now, I reviewed all the Mission Impossible movies before Dead Reckoning Part 1, which, not really Dead Reckoning Part 2 now, it's called The Final Reckoning. But I hope this movie is a worthy follow-up to that movie and also a fitting send-off to Ethan Hunt and Tom Cruise in this role, even though they're kind of insisting he's not done with this role yet. It's like, okay, cool, you might want to end up on it soon, but it looks incredible. The action sequences still look really cool, and I'm excited to see what kind of stuff he has up in his... I'm really curious to see what kind of stuff he's doing in this movie, and hopefully I get the chance to see it in IMAX, which I couldn't last time because of timing and such, and then it got sidelined by Oppenheimer and Barbie and such. So hopefully this movie has a long run in IMAX. At number 2, Superman. This was a movie that it was on my radar, but at the same time, I'm not really a big fan of Superman in general. But after this trailer, I'm starting to finally get it. He's supposed to be the symbol of hope and such. So I'm hoping this movie actually kind of makes me a Superman fan in a weird way. I thought the casting sounded really perfect. David Corenswet, who I thought was really good in Maxine, and I was really excited to hear that he was cast as Superman. Plus Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. Really fantastic casting. Nicholas Hoult is really good. I hope he's really good as Lex Luthor. The only thing that's kind of questionable is like we're throwing in all these other superheroes, like Nathan Fillion is playing a superhero. Okay? I'm really worried that it's going to be less of a Superman movie and more like a prequel to like something else, which just focus on making Superman a good movie and then worry about building everything else afterwards. But I'm so excited. I have faith in James Gunn in doing this. But my number one most anticipated movie of 2024, that is a IP in some way, is 28 Years Later. Oh man, that trailer was really creepy. That trailer was intense. That every time I just watch it, I'm like, it's still really creepy no matter what. Just the chanting of that trailer. There's no discharge in the war. Really creepy, and it's extremely well edited. I really liked the first 28 Days Later. I liked it so much that I didn't even watch 28 Weeks Later because I heard that so many people didn't like that movie compared to the first movie. But maybe I'm gonna have to watch 28 Weeks Later now that 28 Years Later is coming out. But I'm really excited to see this movie. Danny Boyle is back, Alex Garland is back, even Cillian Murphy is back, even if it might be zombified. But I'm really excited to see what this world is like, how people have gone crazy during this time. I'm really intrigued. Also, I know that apparently he shot this on an iPhone, which makes it even more impressive. I'm really excited to see what this world is like, especially after everything that's kind of happened since the first movie. So, what are your most anticipated franchise movies for 2025? Very shortly, I'm going to do my originals. So, comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe.